What's up, brother Wes?
Back for a mini rack and stack number 2 of the week, which is
I
always
know,
fun.
I know. This is the third of four this week. That's almost it's not a record, but it's not bad.
Yeah, we're knocking out a month worth of guests, and that's awesome in 2 days.
In two
Can't beat
days,
that.
in 2 days, and then I can get back to the real world, right?
That's right.
Instead of the world of virtual, which, as we believe, is the real world anyway.
Yeah, and they've kind of bled together, if
They
we're
have
being
bled
honest.
together. They have. So before we get to John, which is going to be a great industry chat, I heard rumor that you're doing some Halloween stuff really pretty soon. Maybe even like right away, huh?
Yeah. We always try to keep things sort of evergreen, but no, that you're going to see this same shirt in the next interview, and then tonight we're doing Halloween, and I think by the time we post this, it'll probably be past Halloween. But
Yes.
yeah, going to go over and pass out some candy, maybe sneak a couple pieces if you know.
You
What I'm
will
saying.
not, Wes. I don't believe that.
Just a couple.
Hey, I look at trade shows, and John and I were just together at one a couple of weeks ago in Dayton, Ohio, for the Construction Roll Former Show. I have a real bad habit that I try to live a healthy, fit lifestyle as much as I can. But boy, I think I'm going to talk to the powers that be. I think every trade show should not allow candy because I can't stop. I have a affliction for chocolate candies, or at least have hard candies or something that I don't like. But no, they all have to have the little Mars bars and the little, Reese's Pieces and all that crap that I just like. But they're only like 24 calories a piece, but I eat 420 of them a day. So
I was looking around. I normally would have 3 of them sitting here, and right now I don't have one. But at trade show, my secret, pleasure is grabbing chapsticks because I say the same thing over and over and over again. By the time I'm about an hour in, my lips are so chapped that I can't hardly move them. So there's always that one saving grace person that's got the chapstick, and those are what I take. So. But we could talk about this.
I like to have the hand sanitizers. That way I never have to buy them. I don't know why. Like, they're cheap, but I just, for some reason, it's a thrill to have 12 hand sanitizers that I collect from people.
That, and you can't have too many squishy balls and fidget spinners. So
that's true. And ink pens. I haven't bought ink pens. As long as I keep going to at least three trade shows a year, I'll never buy an ink pen again.
And we'll probably talk about all this and more in our upcoming book with Ben Gay III. That is going to be the closer 7. So
yeah, or if we don't get to work, maybe the 412th. But we probably
that's right.
We probably should get to work on that. Well, we are. So, anyways, but yes, we're going to talk all about trade shows with that. But for now, let's go talk to John, because John's a busy man, and I don't want to interfere. He may have already left. So,
all right. Well, we'll get to him in just 2 seconds here.
Let's do it.
All right.
Hey, John, what's up, buddy?
Not much. How you doing, Randy?
I'm doing well. It's a cold, blustery day in Northwest Michigan, though. I can tell you that.
Yeah, a little cool here too. The sun's out though, so it helps a little bit.
The sun's not out. It's rainy. It sleeted and hailed yesterday a little bit. It's time to get out of Dodge, man. So, and that's coming soon.
Yeah.
But actually, by the time we as Wes and I was talking, we try to keep these things a bit evergreen, but because we sometimes drop them a little bit later. But by the time this drops, I'll be back where it's like a terribly cold, chilly 79 at 10:30 at night. So that's just my kind of weather. And I might even see, I don't know, you and Deneen for a night, maybe. Who knows? Rumor has it.
Yep, that's the plan.
It's not even a rumor. Shh, don't tell anybody. It's our secret. It's our secret. So anyways, well, welcome on board. I'm glad you came on. So for anybody that doesn't know John, and he's going to introduce himself better than I in a minute, but Solutions Group, rep agency extraordinaire. We've known each other for a lot of years. We met in the industry, and we rep some same companies for different territories, and we rep a couple of competitors, but not in the same territory. So at the end of the day, we're just buds and pals, and we really don't compete against each other, and we just go try to make business better, man. Did that sum it up?
Sounds about right, yeah.
Okay, well, we're done here then. Thanks, John. Appreciate it. No, just kidding. But go ahead, tell us about yourself. Who's John Knable, and give us a little background.
Yeah. So, as you mentioned, Solutions Group Incorporated is the name of the business. It's an independent rep agency. Been doing that for about the last 14 years now. I think prior to that was with a large manufacturer of metal roofing and siding. They had multiple locations. I was with them for 14 years and managed one of their operations in New Albany, Indiana. Prior to that, I was in the lumberyard business for about 10 years, maybe a little longer than that. So been in the building materials most of my adult life. Married for 36 years to the same wife for and have 2 children, 3 grandchildren. So yeah, you mentioned Deneen, so that's 36 years, and yeah, life's good.
Yeah, and yes, I know. I know Deneen, got to know her reasonably well. Funny, she's. I think I've stayed at your house twice or once.
I
I think,
believe twice.
and which is really amazing because most people never let me stay once, let alone the second time, which is really odd. But so I'm not sure what that says about Deneen. Either she's a little mentally challenged or incredibly great and gracious, which I think is the case. But then again, she's been with you 36 years, so there is that, right?
Yeah, she's yeah, she tolerates a lot.
Yeah, that's true. Now that I think about it, I'm probably welcome anytime I want to come. Now that I think about it, because
Anytime.
I know it was a great time. We've had some good time together. So you live just across the river in New Albany from Louisville. In case anybody doesn't know where New Albany or Greenville, I think.
Greenville, Indiana. Yes, sir.
So it's about as far south as you can go in Indiana and stay in Indiana, I guess. But it's
Close.
great place, beautiful place out there. So you've been. I was thinking, listen, as you listen off the different number of years, and yeah, you're almost getting old, dude. Whew, that's a while.
Yeah,
I,
been
I,
around long. Been in the business industry for a long time. Building.
yes, yeah. You know, and an interesting thing, and let's start with that is, where we've been in the industry. Because listening to that, I mean, I knew what you've been doing because we've been friends for years, but I'd forgot that you were in the lumberyard world until you mentioned it. I knew it, but I'd forgotten. And my background comes from the lumberyard world way back as well, as you know. It's interesting, and I love these conversations. A lot of the products that we work with is in the post frame building world and the metal roofing. I mean, that's really the bulk of what we both do. Man, it's changed a lot, hasn't it, since we were both back in our early lumberyard days? What have you seen in the industries? It's amazing how it's changed, hasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, if you go way back, for the most part, there were just a few row formers around. Is the big thing that I've noticed as far as specifically to what we do now. I mean, there's row formers everywhere. It seems like now. It used to be, again, if you go way back, you pretty much had Wheeling and Granite City, and then
Right.
you started seeing the companies like Metal Sales and maybe Central States and some of the more national players, and then the regional guys started popping in, and like I say, they're everywhere now. So I think that's the biggest thing is there's so many guys that are operating row formers or that are in the business that we're in, selling metal roofing and siding.
Exactly. Well, and and the service level that it's brought to the industry is incredible because it's forced everybody to get better, right? Because I remember the days in my lumberyard days, one of the product lines that I bought was metal, and I bought from what you mentioned, Metal Sales. I bought. We had, I think, 6 colors, 5 colors, I think it was, in like
Yeah,
5 links, and you could have any of those 5 colors, and you could have them if you wanted 8s, 10s, 12s, 14s, or 16s. That was your choices, and there was really no other choice. Or you could wait a long lead time and then get still, it wasn't cut to the inch stuff, right? And
right.
now it's like you can get it cut to the inch, and some of these guys got 26, 28, 32 colors. I mean, it's textured and all the different rib designs and stuff. And that's the thing, right, John, that's really increased the business, because back to what you said, adding all these small, medium-sized independent roll formers, the business still keeps growing.
Oh
And
yeah,
right,
absolutely. The metal industry is strong, and looks like it's growing. The one and they've added the siding now. I forget what that profile is called, but yeah, it looks kind of like the Hardy board, I guess, to an extent, or the old T111 wood
Right.
siding way back in the day.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But so there, standing seam is obviously that part of the market is growing tremendously since I got into the business. Anyhow, I'm sure since you got in there. I mean, there's just so many more options these days, so many more different things. You mentioned the texture that they can do with steel, so really driving the industry and expanding the market.
It is, and we didn't touch on, you got the metal shingles too. The painted metals, the stamped metals, the stone coated metals. It's like there's almost no siding or roofing job that somebody would want to do that they couldn't do it in metal if they choose to, right? And that's kind of exciting for all of us in the industry, whether we're on the supply end like we are, or in the manufacturing end, or in the construction end. It's so far, and I don't see any. You kind of touched on it, but I don't see any end to it in a very near future for sure. Is the pie keeps getting bigger than the number of players that get in the pie? Does that make sense? There's more people, and you'd think at some time, we've all seen it. And John, I'd love to you speak to this because you deal with it every bit as much as I do. You have the new roll former comes in someplace, right? And you start working with them, and then some of the existing guys, they're a little concerned. No, we're getting a new guy coming in. Man, he's pretty close. He's only 30 miles away. But inevitably, they both continue to grow. The guy that's worried about it still grows. The new guy comes in and just becomes pretty big himself. And I think that's indicative of just how fast this industry is still growing. Do you agree with that statement?
Yeah, I definitely would agree with it. You see, or I see anyhow, I would assume you do as well, more and more metal roofs out there all the time. I mean, it seemed like I saw a lot of it when I first got started in this industry in the South. I cover a lot of Tennessee, all of Tennessee, but some parts of Tennessee, metal roofing is just kind of the way it is. I mean, you hardly see any shingled roofs down there, and that's seems to be moving more and more north as far as I can tell. I see it a lot in Kentucky now. I'm seeing it more and more in Indiana with metal roofs on a lot of homes these days, which wasn't the case. I mean, obviously, the post frame business is a big part of what we do. So the barns, but if people are doing more and more homes, that's just growing that industry and that pie and making more opportunities for the different row formers that you're speaking to in that market. Okay, well, if they're using more and more of the metal roofing, and then there's plenty of business for everybody.
There is, and it's interesting you talk about the differences in areas. So when I was in the lumberyard world in mid-Michigan, almost all pole barns were still shingles back in the day. That was a OSB or plywood depending on the markets, and shingles. So we only sold half as much metal as we could have sold back in the day that I was. But now this goes back a lot of years. But nowadays it's completely reversed, and it's 90. I'll say 90. I bet you 85% of the pole barns that you see going up have a metal roof of some type. It might be if it's a really a pretty barn, if that's what we want to use the term, they might go with OSB and a standing seam, a textured standing seam, or they might even go to a steel shingle of some type, but it's still metal, right? And that wasn't. I used to think that was the weirdest thing back in the early days when I was in lumberyard. I remember my boss, the executive VP of this company, kept saying, "Why aren't we selling more steel?" Because we're poor product managers. We're in charge of buying in, but also the sell through. It's like everybody's putting shingles on. I can't explain it. I'm one guy. I can't change it, but that's what's happening. So it's interesting to see that happen. And you'd hit on pole barns. I was talking to somebody the other day, and I remember, John, the days when the typical pole barn that I used to help my dad build when I was 18, 19 years old was one of 3 or 5 colors, galvanized roof, nailed completely, neoprene nails, no overhang on eave or gable, a slide door on the side, a slide door on the end, and 1 or 2 watt doors, probably not even any windows. And that was it. That was your pole barn. That was almost what we build every single day. It might be a different size or a different color combination. And nowadays, with you go all the way from the commercial industrial look, the backyard toy barns, the beautiful horse barns, all the way into the barn dominiums, which are like $1 million homes, right? It's pretty amazing what's going on in the industry.
Yeah, you mentioned the few colors out there. Brings back. I remember as a kid growing up, you always saw the goldenrod and the patina green buildings out there. Now, obviously, you never see those two colors hardly anymore. But yeah, you mentioned it earlier in the show. I mean, everybody's got 28 colors that they offer anymore. But neither one. Well, patina's still around a little bit, but not a lot.
It is
definitely some improved color selection.
The funny one to me, John, was turquoise or aqua. Do you remember that one?
A little bit.
That was like everybody was popular at the time, and now I seen one the other day. Saw one, I guess would be the right term. Not an English major. That just god awful. I mean, who would have done that, right? But you speak of gold. I had a customer of mine that is he's a customer of some project, but he doesn't happen to buy my fastener. So there are some silly people left, but anyway, but he's calling me, says, I can't find gold. Is there any chance you can get me gold? I said, well, if you want it off the shelf, absolutely not. I don't need to make a phone call. I said, the chances of my doing it, maybe. But I said, you're literally going to have to probably send me a color chip, and we're going to have to match it because we haven't had a gold. And he goes, well, my supplier doesn't have it. And I said, it doesn't surprise me. And I said, I'm going to be brutally honest. If you don't have their names, I'll give you all your competitors, but they're not going to probably have it either. It's funny. It's just, and it was the biggest color around, just about, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're going back quite a few years, but yeah, that was a popular color way back when. Yeah. Thank goodness it's changed. I'm not a big fan of.
No. A good gold building with turquoise wainscot would be not so nice. But yeah, that'd be attractive. So it's fun to talk with people in the industry. So we talked about the metal, and it's just amazing. And you and I both get into a lot of these roll formers, and used to be they had a roll former, one machine, they rolled ag panel, maybe a double decker, and they do an R panel, but that was it. Now they're 2, 3, 4 lines of standing seam. They're coming with all the, like you said, all of the for lack of a better term, the cheap man standing seam, which I know is a sort of a negative connotation, but the panel that looks like standing seam, sort of, kind of, but it's still a fasten through. Right. And all textured, and it's like, wow. And you talked about colors. There's so many colors. It's funny. Used to be black was black, white was white. Now, if a customer calls and gives me an order, it's like, you got to make sure, is that matte black? Is it shiny black? Yeah. Is it bright white? So polar? Which white is it? It's like years ago, it was just you had the basics: brown, white, black, green. Green's another one, right? I think there's like, which green do you want? It's just, but I think the good news with that, I wonder if you agree, is that's what helped drive the industry to the size that it is, because people are now going with metal that may not have went with metal if they couldn't have got the alternate looks, whether it be color or design. Because let's face it, while mom and pop sitting there in rural Indiana might say, an ag panel, rib panel is great for my house, I'm happy with that. But the next one might say, I'm okay with the whole idea of metal. I like the longevity, and I like the one and done lifetime product and all that. But y'all ain't putting a hog barn panel on my roof. We're not doing that, right? So I think we've opened up the doors by, if you're sold on metal, there's a whole lot of ways to get you into metal and still have the advantage of metal, but still get the look you want. And I think we sort of touched on that, but that's really, I think, been a lot of the driving force, that and sustainability. It's a lot of people like green, the idea of green, not just a green roof, but they like the whole idea of green and the sustainability of metal.
Right.
So if that's important to them, as sellers in this industry, it's silly not to take advantage of that because it's a real deal, right? It truly is a recyclable, sustainable product, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that has helped grow it. And if you put it on your house, there's potential of helping with your insurance rates. Not a huge deal probably, but some people are interested in that because of the fireproof that you get with the metal roof. But I think, like you were saying, adding the additional colors, because let's face it, the ladies in our lives sometimes aren't necessarily happy with black, white,
Right.
green or brown, So when I was in the lumber yard selling there, way back, had a couple come in looking for metal, and back then we probably had 12 to 14 colors or something, and she just couldn't find anything. She was trying to get us to custom make. Well, I need something between this one and this one. It's kind of, no, these are the colors that it's made in. I can't just make that color that you're asking for. It doesn't quite work nowadays. There bound to have been a color in there that she liked. Where back then, well, no, we need something in between these two. It's like, yeah, no. But and as time goes on, they just keep adding and adding, and you got to have 30 colors to even be in the business, it seems like, anymore.
Yeah, you're right, and I think it's become easier because of the all these new roll formers popping up, adding more colors. I think they're able to add more colors also because of all the service centers are popping up, right, and have popped up. So it's easier to be able to not stock that certain tan between A and B or A and C. You can get the B, but if you don't stock it because you don't sell much of it, it's not like you have to buy a truckload of it. You can get it tomorrow, the next day, from one of 10 different service centers, right? So it can put the roll formers in a position to take care of that customer without, it might be a little added cost, maybe not, depending on their scenario, but it puts them in a place where it's not unaffordable to do and unattainable because of time, right? It's made it pretty easy. It's a pretty simple industry right now, considering all the moving parts, right?
Yep. It's I think there's the service that's available out there in this industry is going to be part of what's helped keep it growing in the future, and what has made it able to grow to where it is. I mean, there's just so much available out there, easy access to the products, where it used to be more difficult, because there were less suppliers. So yeah, definitely much more accessibility these days than 20 years ago. So definitely seeing growth.
Exactly. Well, and then you got all the paint systems that are used now versus the paint systems that were used 20, 30 years ago. I mean, they're not even close to the same. The
Right.
abilities that these paint companies have to give you a long life, non-fade, beautiful panel that's going to last, I don't say forever is a long time, but a long time.
Yeah.
Is huge, right? And then you and I both represent fastener companies, not the same one, but we both have the long life screw. That's another thing that's been pushed in because of the demand for a little bit better longevity. Let's face it, back in the day, our lumberyard days, a screw is a screw, and it didn't really matter because the paint's not going to look that good in 5 to 7 years anyway. But nowadays, you're putting a paint system on that's going to be great for the life of your home. Why would you not want to put a fastener on that's the same, right?
Right. Yeah. You had the old polyester paint that had a 10 or 20-year warranty back when we were in our lumberyard days. Now you got the SMPs, the siliconized modified polyesters that are, the fade and all that stuff is as good as like the Kynar paints that were, popular kind of back in the day, or the upgrade. Now you got a 40-year are a lifetime warranty in some cases on your SMP paints. And yeah, definitely the screws, having a similar warranty. A lot of people are concerned with that. I've seen a lot of growth in that part of the market, people wanting to offer, a screw that they're not going to have to get up there and replace, anytime, it's going to be there probably as long as the metal, I guess, is what the hope is.
Yep.
So
well,
yeah.
And it's exciting to see that I think all of the manufacturers are very willing to consider the future as opposed to just what are we doing today is good enough. They seem to be always looking for the next new, better way to do things. And I think that's good because I think I think you're going to lose out as a manufacturer if you don't, because the market's going to demand it, because somebody will do it. So I don't think there's any more. We can just ride this wave, whatever the wave is, for the next 10 years and call it a day. We got to be starting on the next wave as soon as everybody likes today's wave, if that makes sense, because the consumer's not going to accept that anymore. They expect bigger, better, and more longer longevity, better looks, better whatever it is, better whatever better is. They just want it and they demand it. And so I think it's important that all of us in the industry remember is, we can't just continue doing what we always did anymore, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It'll be interesting to see the next, 5, 10, 15 years where the industry goes from here, because, as we've talked, we've seen tremendous change in the past, however many years, if we don't want to get into that, 40 years or whatever it is. But yeah, so the next, I don't know that I'll see 40 more years worth of change, but
I don't know.
Hopefully at least a few more years. And yeah, it's always, and I'm kind of an old school guy. We've talked about this before. Change is difficult, but I realize it's good and necessary, but
yeah,
sometimes it can be a little difficult, but yeah, I'm sure it'll be fun and entertaining to see the changes that come along in the next, again, 5, 10 years, because, if you just look back to what's changed over the past 5 or 10 years, it's tremendous change. And even in an industry that's really not an advanced industry, we're not in the tech industry where you have huge changes, AI and all this stuff that I don't understand at all. But metal's a little simpler, but still a lot of changes.
Yes.
So it'll be fun.
Well, it is. And, you talk about the changes, a fun thing, swinging slightly back over to the post-frame building world, we're seeing now out there, with the NFBA board, we've come up with different building of the year criteria, not only from a size of the builder, so that you're, a guy that's got himself and 8 or 9 people trying to compete with, some of the gigantic guys that's got 12 people on the engineering staff by itself. We've broken that down. But I think equally or more importantly is we're putting more weight on all the new stuff that people are doing in post frame. We're putting more weight on if you're doing just a plain building out back, that's a great building. There's a category for that. But a guy that puts the extra effort to put all the brick wainscoting and the porches and the dormers and the $8,000 a piece garage doors that are wood or look like wood and the cupolas and all the stuff, we're trying to reward those guys too, because we need to recognize, or have recognized, I think, the industry's recognized that that's where it's going. Not everybody. It's not your daddy's pole barn anymore, right? As we kind of talk, it's just not. And I think the industry's recognized that, and I think it's important to. Well, you look at little things in the industry, and I know I don't at this point. I have in the past. I don't think you do, but correct me if I'm wrong. But the alternative foundations, for example, whether they're the plastisleeves of the world or the post protectors, or whether they're the sturdy wall brackets or whoever else makes one like that, or the perma columns and those sort of things. There's so many different ways to build nowadays that elevates the quality and the longevity and what you can do with that building. I mean, you can get into commercial areas with a post frame building industrial that you maybe couldn't 20 years ago because it just wouldn't be allowed, right? And so,
Yeah.
and that's all just innovation. That's what I like to see, a lot of innovation.
Yeah, I mean, that almost, that really bumps up the barn dominiums because,
Mm-hmm.
if you've got a concrete foundation, which you do with, some of the products that you mentioned, because of some of the codes in some of the markets that I'm in anyhow, would require something like that. But with these types of foundations, basically, that even though you're not pouring a full solid foundation, you've got a concrete foundation that your post is attached to. Now they're meeting some of those codes in certain areas, so you can do more and more barn dominiums. Obviously, that's become a huge part of our industry. I see it a lot in certain parts of my market, and I'm sure that will continue to grow. I mean, that's, like I was saying earlier, used to see all the metal roofs down south, and that's kind of making its way up north. I think we're going to see the same thing with barn dominiums. They're in certain markets, but they're going to continue to grow and just will expand, this metal industry that we're in as a whole, I think.
Oh, I agree because, you take where we used to be when I was at the lumber yard. We bought this. I bought because that was one of my product line. This incredibly low cost, and I'll be brutally honest, not that great a quality, but what was available, aluminum pole barn window, right? Sold thousands of them. And nowadays, even in the window world, for example, and you and I both rep a company called Window Supply, for example, which is a very great quality vinyl window, insulated vinyl window, outstanding for post frame, wood frame buildings of any type. Put them in metal too, I suppose, if you want to. Maybe light residential if you want, and some barn dominiums. But I was talking to management at the window company the other day about possibilities of some upgrades from the standard window to adapt to the market of barn dominiums, right? And so I think every aspect, we talked roofing and siding, we've talked fasteners, but even down to the other ancillary items, walk doors, windows, all are expanding or increasing or having to increase what they're offering to stay up with the with the new market, right?
Absolutely. Who would have thought how popular black windows?
Oh, exactly.
I
Yes.
would have, a few years back, I would have never guessed that. And now people, are almost demanding they are demanding black windows, even at twice the cost of a standard white window. So, definitely growth in that area. I would have never seen that coming. I guess black.
Well, I would not have either.
That we're seeing it.
Exactly. And another thing, speaking of that, is I remember years and years and years ago, I had this guy that was buying what we'd refer to now as transoms, like a 24 by 72 inch window, typically goes up high between the poles, lets light in instead of using a skylight or whatever. Great look, a lot of light. And the first time I saw it, I'm going, that's just weird. I mean, who's putting a window way up there? That just looks weird. I just thought it was weird. And I don't know what you see in your world, but I get a lot of guys using the transom windows for that use. It's new, it's different, and they like the look, and it's just furthering what we talked about of the movement of the industry. So
yeah, I mean, I think the further north you get, so like in your Ohio and Michigan markets, you see probably a little bit more of that. They seem to appearance is important in those markets, and so I see it some in Indiana, northern market, but that's not been real popular in Kentucky or Tennessee for me yet. But again, the markets kind of see different things, and what's popular in one market becomes popular in another. So I think that we'll continue to see some growth with that. And like I say, it's a great way. You get those windows up high. They let in a lot of light. You don't have to worry about anybody tampering with them or anything because they're 12, 20 feet in the air, somewhere in that range.
Right, right.
People aren't climbing up there to break your window to get in.
Right. Exactly. Well, and what'll happen too a lot with that is I've seen, and it takes time, but all it takes is one or two guys, let's say in the north, that's been using a transom all the time. Maybe he's a young guy, been working with a company. He strikes off to Kentucky, marries a lady,
Right.
whatever the reason he gets there, and starts his own building business. Then he brings that with him, right? And then he starts doing it, and then pretty soon, people are getting a quote from him, and he exposed them to it. Now they get a quote from somebody else too, and they don't know what they're talking about, but they got to find out because now they got to have it. And then that's the way a lot of that stuff grows, right? Is you need
Absolutely.
to get that.
Yeah, all it takes is, the people interested in building a barn driving down the road and seeing one of them, and it's like,
Yep.
hey, I like that. I'm going to do that in ours. And, obviously then you got two of them, you got, few people seeing those, and yeah, it just grows and grows like everything else, kind of
It
an
does.
organic deal.
It does. I remember the day, and I'm sure you do too, with the long life screws. With my long life screw, I remember when I first started selling those, it was a hard sell. It's like it's double or more the money, right? And so you're having to go through all the reasons and saying, yeah, but the total cost of the project is not that much. Yeah, but holy geez, Randy, it's still double the money, right? Nobody saw the value. Now all it took is any little pocket. One guy starts using them all the time, and I'd have guys call up, hey Randy, that whatever that goofy expensive screw you got that Billy Bob's using, I guess I got to have them. I guess I got to stock them, I guess, right?
Yeah.
And that's how that, right? I'm sure you've seen the same thing, and with a lot of products, that's how that grows. So,
well, and once they start looking at those as the overall cost of the building, it looks, if you compare that expensive screw, the zinc alloy screw, to a regular screw, for the cost of the screws, it looks like, oh wow, I'm doubling. But you add an extra $500 to the cost of a $50,000 bill. I don't know the exact numbers, but
right.
The overall cost to the total of the building, it's not that big a deal.
It's not.
Yeah,
it's not.
Sometimes it makes a lot of sense.
It does. It does. Hey friends, it's Randy here, the owner of Source One Marketing, ibuyfromrandy.com, and I got to tell you, we are proud to sponsor the Building Wins Live podcast and vlogcast. We have 4+ decades in this beautiful industry of supplying materials, supplying services, supplying marketing assistance, and we just are proud to sponsor Building Wins Live and some great guests that we have every single week, many of them from our beloved industry and many of them from outside the industry that still bring some incredible content. So make sure to check us out at ibuyfromrandy.com and let us know what you think about this show. For now, thanks for checking this out. Let's get back to the show. Well, you've been kind of your time, but I did want two things. One is, so we're both reps. We're rep agencies. Your solutions group. Give me your, because I get a fair amount, or we get a fair amount of guys in the sales world and in and out of the industry that check us out from time to time. What's the difference between a rep? What do we do as a rep that's different than a company guy? How do you see a rep? What's the value of what we bring? And that's not a negative to what a company guy does, because I don't think there is a negative there. It's just different. But I think there's some positives that I feel like we bring to the table. What's your take on that?
So yeah, in my opinion, there are huge advantages to working with an independent rep. Well, with the right with some independent reps. Let me. And
That's fair.
The big advantage I think there's a lot. One, I work in a lot of cases almost as a consultant, because as independent reps, we're constantly out there looking at shows. We're going to shows and seeing new products. We're meeting a lot of people. We network a ton in the industry. By the nature of what you do as an independent rep, you're always wanting to meet new manufacturers. You're always wanting to meet everybody in the industry. So you see new products, you see even competitive products that might be a little different. So I think we see that more. I worked as a captive rep for a large manufacturer, and you just didn't do near the networking, and none of the, it wasn't just me. It was everybody that worked at that company. They might have had 80 to 100 sales reps, and there was none of the networking like what I do now. It was kind of a little bit of a whole new world for me. Opened my eyes a lot to get out there. I've learned a ton more about the industry as an independent rep. So in addition, you learn those things. But in addition to, as you and I mean, I think I'm with 6 different manufacturers right now, manufacturer/distributor. I think you're probably with more than that, if I had to guess.
Yeah, maybe one more, but maybe. 7, but 6, 7. Well, who's counting?
Yeah. Anyhow, so you know those products too, right? So somebody might call you to talk to you about one product line that you sell. You mentioned screws multiple times. Most of these customers love the fact that I can offer them windows. I can offer them, the sliding door stuff that we offer with one of the manufacturers that we rep together, cupolas, on and on, venting material for their ridges. I think we become an independent rep becomes a lot more diversified in their knowledge of the industry than a captive rep does, because they learn the products that they sell. Where an independent rep, I think, learns the industry better and can be a consultant as much as anything to our customers. Yeah, we'd love to sell them stuff, but really we're there to help them find the product that they need.
Well, I think you nailed it. And so, with one addition I would add, I think the networking part, you're right. That's a big part of what we do. I know you and I, when we're at trade show, we're running and gunning from 6 in the morning till 2 in the morning, right? And it's and we're always networking with somebody. And I think that's valuable. And the last thing I would say, and you kind of felt like you started to hit on it, is if you or I, we talk screws, if we're calling on this guy and he's happy where he's at, right? He may be happy right now. That is very possible, right? No, we all kind of like to think we have the only one that matters, but that's not true, right? I mean, they're maybe happy with what they're doing. No reason they want to switch right now. If you was captive, well, I'll come back in 6 months and see if something's changed, but there's no reason to come back in 3 weeks because they're not leaving, right? But we have several, 5, 6 other product lines to talk to these people about, right? To, basically from a sales standpoint, get our foot in the door, become established with them on something. Then we can build from there. Then it's like, hey, John, I know I don't buy the fasteners from you. I've been buying barn door track. I've been buying this, but I'm having trouble getting whatever it is. Could you help me out, right? Absolutely, I can. And then that's how that thing builds, right? But if you didn't have those other products to go in there with, they may or may not ever call you. Who knows, right? It's the luck of the draw. So I think there's a real plus there too.
Absolutely, yeah. I think there are some companies that would shy away from an independent rep because they feel like they're not going to be promoting their product all the time. But to your point, yeah, that we get so many calls a customer looking for one item, and then come to find out they really need help with a lot of items. That's the one thing is that I really enjoy about the job, is being able to help these customers when they're looking for products. And sometimes, you've got other product lines. Well, what else do you have? And it's like, oh, bam, you just helped them tremendously because they were having problems. To your point, maybe it wasn't the screws that they were having problems with, but they were having problems with their cupolas.
Right.
It's like, I need help here, so you can help them with that. And then, yeah, obviously down the road, there's a high possibility that if they like working with Randy on their cupolas, why not give Randy a shot with our screws too?
Right.
So then one company that you sell for has just helped another company that you sell for. So by being an independent, you're growing both businesses that you may not have been able to do had you not been an independent.
Exactly. The word I use there sometimes is whatever manufacturer I'm making that sales call with. It might be brand A, for example, but I'm making a sales call for the other brands too. It's always an all-inclusive call because they still know that John and Randy rep these other products, right? Or if we do our job, they know we do, right? Yeah. We're reminding them that we do, however we do that. So it's just because we might be in there today to talk barn track doesn't mean somewhere or another we're not going to bring up windows, or we're not going to bring up underlayments, or we're not going to bring up whatever, because we are. Because the other thing is that I think one of the keys that we didn't touch on, and then we'll get you out of here, but is a mutual buddy of ours in the industry uses the term, and I kind of like the term in a certain way, but even though it sounds slightly harsh if you think about it the wrong way, but we eat what we kill, right? I mean, we don't have fallbacks. We don't have, well, it's a crappy month, but I still got my salary and my car's being paid for, and I still got my 401k and I got insurance. If we don't sell anything, we got zip, right? I mean, so I'm just saying that the work ethic is pretty hard because we're working for the toughest boss there is, which is ourselves, right? And if we don't need to be motivated by anybody else because we're motivated by the fact that I would like that check to have an extra zero on it next month, right? I mean, it's kind of important, right? Move that comma, right?
Definitely motivated to stronger motivation to
performance based, man. You're ready to go. Well, listen, one of the things Wes exposed me to when we first got started, because everybody knows what a frequently asked question, but he loves the SAQ, which is a should ask question. So what is it that in John's world, you just wish people would ask you that never do? What's that question?
And I might ask you, so have you ever considered where the name Solutions Group came from?
I don't know that I've ever asked you that. I could take a wild guess, but I would like you to tell me. I think that's a great question. I think it's a great question.
Yeah, I would like for people to ask me more often where did you come up with that name, because I think it's a little bit unusual. But how I came up with that name is, as I mentioned before, I like helping people. Mm-hmm. So Solutions Group, our job, or my job, but everybody that works within Solutions Group is to help solve problems find solutions for our customers. That was one of the whole reasons I got into this industry. Was I enjoy helping people. Mm-hmm. I enjoy helping my customers. And customers need solutions to their problem. That's why most people buy any product, is because they have a problem that they need a solution for. So that's what Solutions Group is here to do, is to help you with your problems.
I love that, man. I love that. And I mean, I love it because it makes a lot of sense. And you live it to the T. I mean, I've known a lot of reps in this industry. I know a lot of reps. I mean, we've been a long time. We do a lot of networking. I don't want to say we know everybody, but if we don't know you, you probably don't need to be known. Just kidding. But it's close. I mean, we know a lot of people. Nobody does it better than you, John. And that's serious. I mean that. You're top of game at what you do, and you bring that Solutions Group attitude to everything you do. And I think it's important because everybody thinks they're selling, and a lot of customers think they're buying a widget, whatever that widget is. They're not buying a widget. They're buying a solution to their problem, right? And that, you nailed it. That's what we're doing, is help them get the solution to their, and if it happens to be our product, which we hope it is, right? And we think it probably is, but I think you and I are also in the same boat. As I'm not going to push you to buy something from me if it's not the right product. If I'm going to fail you, I'm going to tell you this, I'm probably going to fail you on this one, because this is not, here's the solution you need. Maybe you need to call John Knable because I think he might have it, right? And that's one of the things that if you're in that solution-minded, take care of the customer mentality, that a novice in the sales world, maybe, or certain people would look at that as, well, you'd never do that. Never would I turn down an order. Yeah, sometimes the best thing you do is turn down an order, because all you're going to do is create problems for that customer, and that's not creating a solution, right?
One of the biggest compliments I got, and the guy, I don't know that it was even intended as a compliment, but I ran into a customer of mine at a show here not too long ago, and he was talking to another gentleman, and he said, this is John Knable. He's the guy that we call when we're looking for something and we don't know where to find it at. And it's like, that's exactly the guy I want to be. And
you want to be
not have the product. I mean, it's happened many times. I haven't personally sold the product, but I might know Randy Chafee that sells that product.
Right.
So,
Yep.
you know, and that's what I like to do. You know, I like to be the guy that helps that guy. And he's probably going to call me again sometime for another product. That, who knows, I might have that one.
Right. Well, exactly. And see, if you look at it long term, you look at it taking care of the customer, those things always come back to you, because we're looking for, and I think that's the final word, because I'm going to let you out of here, is we're looking for long term, right? We're looking for commitments, relationships, building a long term relationship. You don't build long term relationships by being, I want to jam this widget down your throat whether you need it or not. You build long term relationships by helping that customer get the solution. If you do that every day, you overall you'll win more than you lose at the end of the day. And I think, like I said, nobody does it better. John, thank you for being on. I appreciate you. We took more than, I promised you 30 minutes, but I might have promised we'll just go have one Bailey's on the rocks before too, maybe. But that's your fault.
Thanks for twisting my arm to convince me to be on here.
Well, you're welcome. I knew you'd be a great guest, man, because people like you in the industry, people need to hear from people like you in the industry. So thank you. I appreciate you.
Yeah.
There. We'll see you soon someplace. We'll see you in Florida someplace.
Yeah.
Soon. All right. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate you. Cheers. All right. My buddy John Knable, Solutions Group out of Southern Indiana. And the guy, if you haven't figured it out yet, go back and watch, because the guy is world class. I can tell you, I've known him for years, and love that explanation. The best part of that whole thing was the Solutions Group, I thought, because that is exactly what I think good industry, in any industry, good independent reps do, is they bring you solutions. They try to take you as a customer, and the rest takes care of itself. So, and John does it is better than anybody. So first class stuff. John, thank you for being on. For now, I got to run, because I just love what I do and do what I love, and I got more places to be and stuff to do and solutions to help people out with. So until we get up together again, go make today your best day ever. Until tomorrow. Cheers.